Why are women from Africa, Southern Europe, and South America generally curvier? IDK about heat BCIM South Asian and we don't have big butts. I live in Ghana, West Africa. Not all African women are curvy. Some are slim, skinny. Some also have big breasts but not big butts. Others have big butts but very small breasts. So it varies between each woman and her body fat distribution. Most journals I've read suggest they got it from their mama. Interesting question. I have to say I think at least a part of it is just stereotypes. I know a few Latina women and none of them are extremely curvy, but it is always said about them. That's just genetics. We all obviously have a say in what amount of fat we have on our frames. But fat distribution is ultimately up to where your genetics think it should go. Through generations, thousands of years worth of breeding and society finding certain features attractive, modern members of a group will primarily have X feature. I feel like you're lumping a lot different body types and builds under one vague term. You're also stereotyping vastly diverse regions, i.e., Sub-Saharan Africa in and of itself is a hugely genetically and phenotypically diverse place. I don't think South Sudanese women are considered to be very curvy. At least not in the same way that Nigerian or South African women are. I also feel like you see roughly the same body types and distribution of body types between Northern, Western Europe and the rest of Europe. You also see curvy, white women all over Europe, but I concede that you do for some reason see more women with less developed butts and thighs in this part of the world too. Due to estrogen, women in general are more predisposed to collect fat in their butt and thigh area. Testosterone makes men collect fat more so in their gut, belly. But I'm also pretty sure that it reduces the amount of body fat we put on in general. But the actual amount of fat that your body ultimately tells to go to such and such area is also genetically predisposed. I think women being curvaceous is just a naturally sexually dimorphic trait. And genes controlling for that just got turned off in a handful of populations. Why? I have no idea. Genetics are weird. And there's not always a specific or obvious reason why certain changes occur once populations split. One final thing I want to point out is that, at least in my opinion, a woman can be curvy without having large breasts. I actually don't think that large breasts are a super common thing among, for an example, West African women or Latinas. But big butts and thighs are. In the reverse, there are also quite a few white and other types of women who have huge breasts, but almost no ass. Again, genetics are weird. I think you just notice them more cause that's what you are attracted to. From anthropology class YR's back, humans need fat to survive famines and store it on their bodies. Humans also get overheated cause fat is an insulator. Where they evolve in hot, warm climates it tends to concentrate relatively out of the way. The butt, hips, thighs around the center of gravity and, whereas in cold climates it tends to spread more evenly over the torso to help keep you warm in winter. I'm Central American and most women aren't very curvy. Same with Mexicans. The curvy Latina is a stereotype and most indigenous women have bodies similar to Asians, which both East and South have modest figures. I remember in the 2000s in El Salvador, 140 pounds was considered fat for a woman. Caribbean Latinas like Dominicans and Puerto Ricans are definitely curvier though. An Afro-Latina is definitely going to be curvier than an indigenous one. Your average Latina might be curvier than your average Asian, but not curvier than your average white woman. Central European, South European women, And Scandinavian women tend to be curvier too. Comment is a cesspool of hobgoblins. Nauseated face. Where are you observing this phenomenon? And if you say internet porn or social media, I must slap you. Seen this guy asking questions in 2 subs today. And the amount of downvotes on his comments to the questions makes me believe he is trolling or could use help. What's Maine got to do with this? Jesus wept, the pseudo-science and make-believe in this thread LMAO. Well, at least in some Latin American countries, particularly Brazil, boob and butt plants are extremely common and normalized. It's legal for a 16-year-old teenager in Brazil to get a boob job. There's certainly some pressure to achieve this kind of A's ethic. Op is telling on himself in these comments, loudly crying. Southern European aren't curvy. I've read that it partly has to do with long-term malnutrition. And a study I read suggests less curvaceous women produce higher levels of testosterone and androgens. But of course it's not so black and white. Woman shrugging. They have a higher presence of genes from the haplogroup B0T. I am from Argentina and not all women are curvy. In fact, I probably met more on the skinny side than anything. Fat aside, of course. It is impossible to not have curves at that point. I am not sure if there is any genetical factor anywhere. Probably. Just saying that is not region specific. Not in my country at least. In fact, there's probably more curvy women in THEUS. But LATAM is huge.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epicaricast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.